What should we talk about now?
Lads magazines, just a bit of fun, or sexist and harmful to women. The campaign group Lose the Lads Mag say they're offensive. It's calling for Tesco to remove magazines like Nuts, Zoo and Loaded from its shelves.
Well, the protesters are taking their campaign to Parliament today. But the supermarket says it's consulted its customers and has no plans for a ban. We're going to hear from two people on either side of the divide in a moment. First, we asked some of you what you thought.
That's up to the parents. How do the kids get at them? Do they climb up the fixtures or something? I thought they were all supposed to be on the top shelf.
Yeah, I can see why you would. Obviously, people around, it's not really the best thing to be looking at. For some people, it doesn't really want to look at it, but they don't have to look if you don't want to see it, really.
I find them offensive, so I don't look at them, but it would be nice not to have to avert my gaze when I do spot them.
I think for stores where you're dealing with family groceries, it's not the right place.
Yeah, it's
There's plenty of places and summers where it's acceptable.
No reason why to ban them, I don't think.
If they ban them, I would understand why. Just because of kids and old people, just their views and the rights that they have.
I never even look at the top shelf, so no, I don't find them offensive. I wouldn't even know what's up there these days.
So, Kat Banyard is from Lose the Lads Mag's campaign. Dominic Smith is editor of a Lads Mag, Nuts magazine. He joins us from our central London studio. Kat, is there something really harmful about them, or are they harmless fun for a small number of readers?
Well, UK Feminista and Object are calling on Tesco and the other of the big four supermarkets to lose the Lads Mags, because we know from extensive evidence that sadly these magazines are deeply harmful. They are dedicated to portraying women as dehumanised sex objects, and that's why organisations like Women's Aid and the End Violence Against Women Coalition, which is the biggest coalition of anti-violence organisations in the UK, are backing this call.
When you say extensive evidence that they're causing deep harm, what is the evidence?
That by portraying women as sex objects, it leads to people viewing women as sex objects, being more accepting of gender stereotypes, of sexual harassment. And in fact, a previous government review, the Sexualisation of Young People review, found that indeed these magazines send out very damaging messages, particularly to young people, about women, and really fuel sexist attitudes and behaviours.
So, Dominic, you're editor of Nuts magazine. What, if any, of that argument do you accept?
None of it, really. To be honest, I think Kat comes from a very emotive kind of point of argument, really, and I would much prefer to deal in facts. And the facts are that when these magazines were at their absolute height between 1997 and 2009, domestic violence went down by 64%. So it didn't go up, as Kat would expect, it didn't level out, it went down by 64%.
What do you think of the argument that, you know, if you portray women in very skimpy outfits, then it shows that they're sex objects, it fuels the idea that that's how women should be treated, it objectifies them. What are you doing to the image of women by printing the photographs that you print?
I think, well, one important point to make here for clarity is that only 70% of Nuts magazine isn't women. It's entertainment, it's stories about
okay, so
soldiers.
a third of the magazine is pictures of scantily clad women.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Okay.
and I think, you know, Kat constantly calls these women dehumanised sex objects. They're not. In our world, these women are celebrities. Models like Lucy Pinder are celebrities. They have huge Twitter followings. We interview them. They are not dehumanised sex objects. The only people who view them as such, sadly, are Kat Banyard and a gang of kind of placard-waving feminists.
Why not have them with their clothes on?
Because we do feature them with their clothes on, but equally, look, let's be honest about this. Young men enjoy looking at attractive pictures of young women. Young women enjoy looking at attractive pictures of young men. It's always been that way, and it always will be. And I think, you know, sorry to disappoint Kat, but that will always remain. You know, women enjoy looking at pictures of David Beckham in his pants. And what's wrong with that?
I think the point for Tesco here in particular is that as the UK's biggest family retailer, they have a policy of not stocking pornographic or so-called adult magazines. But As we've just heard, a large proportion of these magazines is pornography, and in fact we've obtained legal advice from a top QC who assessed recent editions of these magazines and affirmed that they do contain pornography. And interestingly, we posted some images from recent copies of Nuts and Zoo on Facebook, another corporate giant with a no-porn policy. And when reported, these images were removed, saying that they violated community standards. So it's clear Tesco's violating its own policy.
Your problem is where they're displayed. Do you have a problem with Dominic's magazine existing at all?
I think the real harm at stake here, and the reason why the big four supermarkets need to act, is because these supermarkets are everyday spaces. These are places where families go to get their shopping.
It is about where they're seen, not about the magazine itself.
The crucial issue here is the fact they're sold in family supermarkets like Tesco, who say they have no porn policies, and actually, by stocking them, they're potentially breaching the law, because by exposing staff and customers to these page 3 style images, it can actually constitute sexual harassment.
Dominic,
or
can I just ask, could you survive without being on the shelves of Tesco? I mean, is it something you countenance to take a step in that direction?
Yeah, but before I answer that, I have to take up a couple of points that Kat's made there. Nuts is not a pornographic magazine. It's not. It wouldn't be stored in any of these stores if it was. Let's face it, anyone who's seen a pornographic magazine knows there's a world of difference between the images in those magazines and the images that you see in Nuts and on page 3 of the Daily Star and the Sun, the two most popular newspapers in Britain, family newspapers in Britain. It is not a pornographic magazine. That's my first point. My second point is Nuts is already displayed according to government-endorsed guidelines. It's out of the view of children. In many stores it's behind modesty boards, and Tesco have already implemented an over-18s policy. Tesco only now sell Nuts to over-18s. This is no longer an issue.
OK, Dominic Smith, editor of Nuts magazine, thank you. I do appreciate that it is a big debate. Kat Vanyard, thank you as well. It will be, of course, discussed in Parliament.
We've had a huge response on this. I just want to quickly touch on a couple of points. Melanie says, I agree, pornographic magazines should be covered up, but Nuts and Zoo, just lads mags with a girl in a bikini. You see topless people on beaches all the time. Beverly says, have you seen women's magazines? There are women there wearing scraps of material, showing more flesh than they should. And Jamie says, don't be ridiculous. Of course we shouldn't get rid of them. It's all part of growing up.
7:47, the